All right. Well, hopefully this video is going to be accurate. Not accurate, but hopefully this video can happen. And the reason why I say that is because this is probably, and if I'm looking in the wrong spot, I'm sorry. This is probably the seventh time, I kid you not, that I've done this video. I've tried to do it a couple of different ways and nothing worked the way I needed for it to. So now we're going to see how this works. I'm still a little nervous if it's going to work out because all the other times there's been issues. One time there was, I can't find the file. The other time I did it, a couple of times I've done this, and there's been an audio delay. You know how that is, and it's annoying. Then finally, I did a couple that were just the audio only and not the video, so they can match up. And still, one of them I got a little too excited, talked a little bit too much, went in a little too much. And the other one, when I was ready to play it back, it was just a muffled sound. It sucked. So now what I'm going to do is try this one more time. It's important that I get this out. And I had wanted to do a side-by-side so that people can see the what the gentleman wrote, but that didn't work out either. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to read it, and folks can go on to our Discord, which be sure to join the Discord down in the description box below, because the question was posted there. And it was back on March 24th, so before the whole crazy thing at the Oscars. This person said, "Hi Hersh, I discovered your channel a few weeks ago and I've been on an absolute binge. I really enjoy your content because it seems like our personalities are very similar. I wanted some advice on fitting in as a young man who's considered corny. I'm a 22-year-old black man, and my entire life I've gotten ridicule from people who look like me because of the way I carry myself. I've been accused of talking white, being whitewashed, dressing up too much, etc. All of the typical insults hurled at people who don't fit into the stereotype. As much as I want to say these comments don't bother me, they do. These negative comments come from older people, younger people, members of my own family, and both sexes. The saddest thing is people of other races generally treat me well and are impressed by the traits the naysayers make fun of me for. I'm not sure how I should deal with this negativity. Do you think there's anything I can do to become more relatable? Or is it just not worth it? When I was 17, I'd studied abroad in Japan and was welcomed with open arms. It felt so good to be able to be myself. I can understand that without being roasted with childish insults. I'm considering just leaving the United States completely to try and explore different parts of the world so that I can find my new tribe. My job allows me to work from anywhere and I'm decently compensated. What do you think of this strategy?" First off, thank you so much for joining the Discord and asking this question and trusting me to answer it. I appreciate that. Also, I appreciate the fact that you've been binge watching the videos. Prior to the Oscars, I had listed a couple of different things, and I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? Unfortunately, we have two different, I mean, not everybody's of the same mindset. We have people who are quick to anger and become violent and use violence as a justification for things that they don't like, whether it be the stuff that you've seen at January 6th. I've seen stuff here where people have gotten upset over the silliest of things. It could be a road rage incident where someone may have cut someone off and didn't do it on purpose, but they may have cut someone off and they get shot for it and killed. I have seen here where there's been some young people, and when I say young, I'm talking 11 and 15 or something like that, that had robbed a dispensary, killed 2 people. And then you have people who are saying that what Will did, it's not that big of a deal. They would have done it. You know, you hear from all races, Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, and in different countries, where people saying that what Will did was completely okay and that he was defending his wife and that violence is okay if someone were to say something you don't like. And now I understand why we have situations like we do in the United States where people do not try to resolve issues, they shoot first. You know, a lot of times, even in the neighborhood, many neighborhoods, you have people who, same situation where someone may have, you have a female who is with several different people, and you know, somehow somebody find out that this person did it, and then this person makes a comment about her that's disparaging, and then shots ring out and people are dead. It happens over and over and over again. And you will have people that will defend the situation no matter what the circumstances are. I mean, Kevin Samuels did a video on this, and even though he was bringing it, and he does it much better than I will ever be able to do in terms of just the question and questioning people and making them hold accountability, because that's a big problem in our community, is accountability. And it's a big problem in many communities. It's that whole accountability factor. And I was someone who always felt like there is, you know, there's a lot of people that want to do good, but I don't feel that way anymore. Not after seeing people cheer on what happened, making excuses, turning this around. There were people who were even bringing up white people in this comment, in this situation, in terms of Will Smith and all of this. And it's like, none of the people up there, none of this involved anybody that was white. It's a distraction to not take accountability. I'll get to your questions. And to be honest with you, it's pretty sad. It's let me blame somebody for my own issues. It's not to devalue that there's not racism in this country, and there's many, many issues that we have yet to really deal with. It's not to say that, you know, we shouldn't have to have laws that talk about anti-lynching, and it took this long from the time of the end of slavery up until now, that they're, you know, just now passed not long ago. That we have to have the Crown Act, which is protecting women's hair, Black women's hair and Black men's hair, from being used as a discrimination tool when it comes to hiring. And people will say, well, you know, he's making fun of a Black woman's hair, and that is something you should never do because of all of the situations behind that. But here's one of the things that, and I'm not going to go down the weeds of that. You have other women trying to speak for Black women on that, and there's no point in doing that. There are plenty of very intelligent Black women on YouTube and many other spaces that are by far more qualified than I've seen Asian women trying to sit there and talk about this and talk about everything under the sun and everything else, and don't really know what the hell they're talking about when it comes to Black people and other people trying to speak for Black women. And to be honest with you, this could have, like I said before, this could have been handled in a completely different way and shined a much more helpful light on alopecia. But instead, it really shows a bad reflection on us. And I said this, and there were some pushback from Black people, Black men in particular, who felt like what Will did was okay, not a big deal. They don't care how we are seen. And the biggest thing was, well, I don't care what white people think. The planet has more than just white people in it. And what's frustrating is that like Kevin Samuels had mentioned, we do have an ethnic image. We all do. No matter what race you are, you have an ethnic image. And you may not care what people may think about black folks or whatever. But let me pull it back a little bit. Will Packer is a black film producer. He's producing the Oscars, first time. Big dream of his. He said that it was just such a devastating thing for him. I can't remember exactly what he said, but the whole thing with Will Smith was just, it shattered this man's dreams. Questlove had made a documentary called The Summer of Love, and it was talking about how in Harlem there was this music festival that wasn't even really televised. And so he did a great job of resurrecting a lot of different pieces of that time. And that was actually the documentary that was being talked about, as Chris Rock was talking about that, and he was cracking jokes. And when Questlove went out there finally to get the award, Questlove was actually trying to meditate. He didn't even know all of the foolishness that was going on, but he was overshadowed because people were still talking about the slap. This is bigger than Will and Jada and Chris. There were other people that were impacted and affected by this that had nothing to do with anything. And the fact that people don't care, the only person they really care about is Jada, it speaks volumes, because it doesn't matter about everybody else. And then when I realized that there's different groups of people, different classes of people. You have your gentlemen and your ladies who just don't, and I would put Chris Rock in that gentleman category, because I would not have been able to be that resolved. If someone puts hands on me, it's a completely different story. Completely different story. I would rather take a punch versus a slap. To me, a slap is very weak. But I'm not going to get into the weeds of that. But I understand, getting back to what you're saying, I understand that people will insult you in our community for not fitting the stereotype. And that's sad. Because again, like I mentioned before, there are people who are riding on what Will did and think it's okay and acceptable because he's defending his wife. They think that what happened and how he handled it is okay because it's Will Smith. There are some people, it doesn't matter. He could have smacked an old woman. It's Will Smith. It's okay. There are other people who are saying it's okay because he's doing it in the defense of a black woman. So it doesn't matter what it doesn't matter. Sir, it doesn't matter. Does not matter what it was. He was defending a black woman. And instead of trying to understand all of that, the gentleman and lady class of people, similar to yourself, similar to myself, similar to a lot of people who are saying that this didn't do anybody any favors. Kevin Samuels talks about the ethnic image for a reason, because we don't really have a black community, and we wonder why. We don't own all these banks. We don't own all of these financial firms and accounting firms and all of that. We don't. When you go and try to get a job, you put your best foot forward. And unfortunately, for some, even if they put their best foot forward, our ethnic image, because of what others do, impacts everybody that looks like us. Is it frustrating? Absolutely. But here's what I want to say in terms of that. I've learned to cut people out. I don't care what they look like, what race they are. Because again, the people who are defending this are all racial backgrounds, both genders. In various different countries, there are some people saying this is completely okay. There are different people who have evolved beyond emotions. You have a lot of women of all different races who are saying, I would be mortified. Why didn't she, calm him down? Women should serve as a way of softening a man, but not make him so soft as a kitten. that he has to prove his manhood, but basically soft down those rough edges a little bit, saying, hey, it's all good. It would be different if Will said, you know what? My wife's he's got a big mouth anyway. Both Will and Jada are very self-centered. He's very loud, center of attention. Then you use that loud voice to basically stand up and say, if you didn't want to go up there, stand up and say that, making fun of a condition like alopecia is kind of low. Whether you knew she had it or not, it's kind of low. I love my wife. She's beautiful. We here to celebrate. I'm hoping that I win. And she's the rock in my life. And so that's what we're doing. We're doing love. I think people can respect that. People are saying, well, if you were in that situation, it's different. Well, I just know for me, there's a certain way that a gentleman conducts himself. And then there's a certain way people who aren't a gentleman conduct themselves. And I'm working right now. There's another young black man who came here who has, I don't know if he's married or if he's dating, but I think he's married. His wife is also Korean. He's about your age. He loves it here. And instead of moving to Japan, where you said people have their arms out, open arms for you, and I understand that. I love Japan. I've never been. I love Japan, though. I would still stay here because we need a better representation than what we currently have. There are a lot of positive black people in this country, a lot of them that do amazing things, a lot of them that are gentlemen and ladies. But again, as you can see, it gets overshadowed. And to have someone that has the strength to be themselves, even though you endure insults, and still want to continue on, it takes a lot. Because you would expect people in our own community to be able to not do that, to not say, to discourage you. I remember, when black kids would do well in school, the other black kids are saying, what are you trying to do? Trying to be white? As if we're supposed to continue to, just be in a downtrodden state. We should not try or anything like that. It's sad. But you can't fix that. And that's why I say to young black men, be very selfish. Work on you, because you're going to have a lot of that. Going through here, there's no such thing as talking white. If you're speaking English, I guess you can argue that you're talking white because it comes from England. Being whitewashed, dressing up too much. There are people who are very much obsessed with racism and how it has hurt them. And I understand that. Being a black man who grew up in the South, I get that. However, there are certain people who had a good, strong support system. And what I don't understand, and I need to understand this more, and I should, because Noelle has her own issues with adoption that, other people may not have had. Different people have had different experiences. I had an amazing support system. I had a mother who grew up in the 30s in the South and around bigots, and she helped me adjust through and figure those things out. Not everybody had that. And she still accomplished and achieved, and she'd never even graduated high school, and she had her own business, owned several houses. And I guess that's the spirit that I have. And I don't sit here and paint the blame on all white people as if all white people are the problem. Because I can look and say that there are some of us that are equally the problem. There have been times, just like you have said, that sometimes other people have treated you better than your own. And that's sad, but I've also dealt with that too. And what I'm trying to do here in Tacoma is have more young black men like yourself where I can help invest in. They want to start a business, I want to be able to help them. I want to be able to have other young black men like yourself who are really striving to be who they are, corny or not. There's another gentleman on here talking about, he has, he can kind of relate because he's a little quirky. Again, join our Discord. And I ask him, what do you mean by that? What does that mean? He explains normal stuff that I'm like, yo, then I guess I'm quirky too. Another young black man. And often it's you're ridiculed. You can't say what your likes are because of the fear of being judged and belittled. Because unless you wear your hat, where's it at? You get respect if you're walking around like this. You get respect when you're walking around like this, and anytime, be it, pretending to be tough, anytime somebody says something, you don't use your intelligence. You basically use your fist or your hands or a gun. Now, I understand wanting to go to Japan where that's not a lot of the type of crap you would have to deal with because it's just looked at as being very primitive. Violence is primitive. It doesn't matter at the hands of what color of person. It's primitive. And unfortunately, people can't see the forest from the damn trees because they're too bogged down in their own mental trauma, whether it be sexual abuse, racial abuse, whatever. There's a ton of different things that people have dealt with that they've never sought help for. And so therefore they get in their own way. That should not stop you. And I get the desire to want to leave, but if anything, you should move here. You do pretty well. You can live anywhere you want to. I would get a studio apartment, and I probably would link up with you and invest in you. The reason why is because I want other young black men like yourself to not have to sit there and fear acceptance or seek it and try to, and you had said, should you try to become more relatable? How do you become more relatable to something that you don't even quite understand? You would be fake if you would try to be more relatable. So to me, it's just not worth it. I answer your question, it's not worth it. I think that it was a great thing that at 17 you had traveled to Japan, and I'm sure it blew your mind. I can't even tell you what I can't. I was watching the Sky Tree last night that's in Tokyo, and I'm just like, my goodness. You see what I'm saying? Like everything about Japan, I just love it. So I would say visit Japan often. In Tacoma, we have SeaTac Airport. It connects you to a lot of places in Asia quickly, nonstop. We just now got an airline that's going to fly from here to Tahiti twice a week. Bora Bora is looking nice. That's what I'm wanting for you. I want young black men to be able. I've been to events where I'm the only black face. And it's good. And it's not that black people are not invited to these things. It's just that we're just not there. And representation matters. I want young black men to fill those shoes and to be at various different events because you have people now, because again, your ethnic image matters. I've had people ask me to vouch for someone on a professional level. And again, you have people who say, doesn't matter what, I don't care what white people think. Okay. You have people who will send me high-level jobs to apply for, personally, handpick me, not because of this. And people say, well, maybe him cooning. No. You see my Facebook, you know that ain't the case. Straight shooter, call it how it is. And whether people like it or not. And I think that people should obviously respect one another, respect the difference. There's a lot of things I may not like. There's a lot of things I don't think is necessarily cool, but I try to respect other people until it becomes a point where they are disrespectful to other people for absolutely no reason. And people will say, well, Hersh, that's kind of what Chris Rock did to Jada, though. And my thing is that when you, both people, Chris Rock, all three, Chris Rock, Will Smith, Jada Pinkett, they're all public figures. They're all in the same crew. They're all up there. Her dress alone costs more than what most people probably make in 3 months. Will Smith is wearing a suit that costs more than what most people are able to get even in a month or two. Same thing with Chris Rock. We can't relate to them. We can't relate to them. And while alopecia is a very noteworthy and important topic to talk about, what Will did not shed positive light at all. It may have highlighted some things. It's helping the career of Chris Rock. We don't know what it's going to do to Will because he didn't think. He reacted based on pressure. And what I want young black men to do is not to run because the pressure is thick, or to jump because someone expects you to jump and leave. I want you to be able to stay, build yourself up, level yourself up, have mentors that are going to help you stay strong and stay firm. There are plenty of women here. I tell you one thing. When I am in situations like I was the only one there, people notice you. You would not have a problem with finding a productive, successful wife here. As a single man, you're not. Seattle is known as one of the biggest city of singles, and you have a lot of women who are looking for someone who is on that level. And you don't have to deal with stupidity and all of that. There's selfishness everywhere. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of selfishness here in Tacoma and in Seattle in this area. It is what it is. You got to split down the middle probably of those who are not like that and those who are. You can't worry about those who are. But exploring different parts of the world, I think you should. Finding your tribe is probably here. We need more good, positive representation of young black men. Seeing more black men with, dressing in business casual, Monday through Friday, walking around downtown is a dream of mine. Going in, 4 or 5 of us, going in, sitting down, having lunch, talking about business, that's a dream of mine. Young black men walking around looking great, talking wonderful, going to different meetings just to network and get to know people. That's a dream of mine. And those are things that I'm definitely starting to do right now, along with other stuff, so that young black men's voices are heard. And that there's programs for young black men, so that they're not the ones out here like the 2 that unfortunately are lost, and there was others. And there are many others where they have done crimes. And it's often like if there was programs there that are tailored for young men. There's not a lot of programs for young men of any race or men in general. Maybe these types of things wouldn't have happened. Maybe if they had a mentor or something like that. Maybe if one of them, I can't maybe save all or 2 or whatever, but maybe just 1 out of 15,000. If I can get one person that changes their way of thinking and say, you know what, that reaction type of attitude is not worth it. Let me use my intellect. Let me use my brain. Because even though you get roasted with these childish insults, understand that the people who do that are hurting themselves. They're hurting deep inside, and they don't get help for their trauma. People will say, well, Chris Rock was insulting such and such, and he's a comedian. That's his job to do that. These are public figures. Whether he knew she had alopecia or not, I'm not sure. We don't know how that was going to be handled afterwards. We don't know. A lot of moments were stolen that night. It's pretty sad. It doesn't for some, it makes Will Smith and Jada look great. But to be honest with you, it really doesn't. It really hurts them more than even they realize right at this point. There are people who have a lot more power than Will and Jada, who are part of, and there's a lot of them are their peers, who this is not going to turn out well for them. And even though Will can stop working today and Jada can stop working today, and they're totally fine for the rest of their lives, it looks very bad when our first go at hosting the Oscars, his first chance of winning an Oscar, Samuel Jackson won an Oscar, Questlove document. It's just like there were so many opportunities for a lot of greatness, and it's just overshadowed by one man and his wife. It's really sad. It's pathetic. I would say those aren't people that I associate with. In fact, I went through and made sure that on Facebook and everything that I don't even want to have anything to do with those types of people. Even in real life, I can't trust it, because if someone were to say something, I was talking about how, back in the day somebody could bump into someone by accident, and there were people who would fight or shoot because of it. And it's sad. It would be more respectful if Will said, "Well, then let's do a boxing match in this comedic way. Let's do a boxing match then, because I can respect a man who punches. I can't respect a man who slaps. Even my wife Noelle doesn't slap. She doesn't punch either. But I mean, it's just that's not what it's funny to me." And then the money raised for that boxing match would go towards alopecia awareness or whatever the case may be. That would have been a beautiful moment. And if Chris chickened out, then so be it. But for a man to be 6'2", 220 pounds, going up against a 5'6" guy and slap him and turn your back real quick and walk away, and it was a light smack, because of the simple fact that it showed his weakness. A man slapping another man is just weakness. It's also disrespectful too. And maybe he was trying to show equal disrespect. I don't know. Maybe he was doing it to appease his wife, to say, "Yep, look, here's some fodder for you. Hopefully this works." Because he did have a little bit of a smirk walking back, and seeing her joy on her face, that's my man. Chris is like, "What?" And Will wants to ham it up a little bit more. But to me, it's just sad. So back to you, sir. I would say stay in the U.S., find your tribe here, travel quite a bit to different places. Don't worry about your quirkiness and all of that and your uniqueness. That's what makes you you. The person that celebrates you is there. Whether, I don't know if you're single or not. It seems like you might be, but there are going to be people who will celebrate you. And so I wouldn't worry about that. Family is meant to go visit. You don't have to be in the same area that your family is in. If you start a life that they probably are going to sit there and be judgmental of, then they don't have to be a part of that life. They can still be a part of you and not be a part of your life. So you can still visit for short amounts of time. I always say that sometimes people, you have to deal with them in doses. You have to decide the proper dosage that you can handle with them. And so sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes finding family and people who care about you, they may not even have a bloodline with you, but they're more of a family to you than what your family can be. I've witnessed that so many times over. But I would say that trying to be relatable to something that doesn't make sense to you is not going to work. I think going to Japan and trying to overcome those obstacles in terms of, being able to legitimately stay there and all of that, it's a lot of work. Not saying it's impossible. It's just very hard, challenging. You're better off being a good, positive representation here for men younger than you, boys younger than you. Maybe you could have been a shining example for those kids that did what they did, so they could see, like, yeah, there's people close to my age, man. I want to do what he's doing. So no, I would say that's kind of what I would do. Don't worry about what other people are saying. Don't worry about trying to fit into a box, because that's what makes people comfortable. Be you. Anyhow, please join the Discord down in the description box below. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. The best of luck to you. Again, thank you so much for the question. Till next time, I will see you. Take care.